Alright guys, so I'm here with Rob. It's been a while since we made one of these videos. We're going to be talking about the vest, how it actually works, which kind of vest to purchase, pros and cons about it. A little brief history about why I'm even wearing the vest is being a natural competitor. I'm using the term with natural competitor, not enhanced with any kind of supplements or hormones of testosterone. Being a natural competitor now for, I've been actually bodybuilding for about 11 years. I've been working out for, I want to say maybe a little over 15 years, but I'm serious about 15 years. So after a while, you start almost kind of capping off a little bit of your muscle potential. You try to maybe think outside the box. And one of the ways that I've always had these ideas in my head, like for instance, whenever I was 19 years old, all I did was just work out arms and chest. That's what everyone does, works out arms and chest. Well, I worked at Sam's Club, and for anybody who doesn't know what Sam's Club is, like a Costco, and my whole job was to push carts. And this is before we had the actual motorized thing to help push the carts. Actually, we did have it, but it was broken. They never wanted to fix it. So
the carts that you would shop with, you take to the store and then take out to your car.
Yes.
All right.
And my job was to I was a cart boy. And I mean, when I say I was a cart boy, I mean there was just hundreds of carts, and we weren't even really allowed inside. So, you know, even if we were inside, they'd be like, "What are you doing in here?" "Oh, hey man, I gotta use the restroom." Jeez, like give me a break. You know. So anyways, I would be the main pusher. And we would stack together like 50 to 60, 70 carts all at once. It would be so heavy, I would have to push it with so much might that I would have to actually be almost completely on the floor. So I would have to hold on to the very bottom of the rails and push it. It reminds me a little bit of football. When we used to play football in practice, how we would have to keep on driving.
Those play dummies.
Yes, the play dummies. Yeah. Only the play dummies, I'm a little bit more upright. This way I was like almost completely like on the floor, and I would just kick. You do that 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, 9 months. I mean, I started seeing something that I'd never seen before in my life.
Major results.
I started seeing some big quads happen.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell are these? Okay. So I would always remember that. And that actually even motivated me to be, because I remember I just did not have quads, you know. Though I was 19, I wasn't really interested in working them out. Okay. But I started developing them. I mean, my legs would be burning a long time ago, but it's still part of your job, and you're not even really thinking mechanically like I'm trying to get swole.
Or you're not thinking like it's a workout.
Yeah, exactly.
You're thinking it's my job.
Yeah, it's my job. Since then, and then when I actually did start squatting, oh man, like my legs really got pretty good in size, and still not saying that I have the best quads ever. Okay, so fast forward through the years, I've had different jobs where I always attribute my activity to help me get ready for a show. Okay. And I've even had a job before where I use a lot of a forearm grip, a lot of lats, and I noticed through every day these muscles developing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I have that kind of idea in my head growing up, you know, through my mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, that okay, if you have something that's going to be required for you to be repetitive of doing something like this, it's not going to be overtraining the muscle. The muscle is going to actually hypertrophy to it. I've had this idea on my mind for the past 3 years, but of course, every time I get ready for a show, I'm just like, and I just forget about it.
You probably revert back to just what's worked in the past. Or
yeah.
Maybe tweaking a few things just from what you've learned. Yeah.
So this time I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and try this now. So I sent James Krieger a real quick 2-minute videos. And it's funny because I have the vest on and I have these wrist weights on.
Wrist weights.
And I'm talking real fast because I'm trying to sell it to him. Okay, because I know how it's gonna sound. It's gonna sound stupid. Okay, but if you can just hear me out,
right,
it actually sounds quite smart. It sounds unpractical. Like if you can't impractical, but if you can pull it off, if you can do it, then on paper, yeah, I guess it can work. So I'm over here talking to him. I'm telling him, trying to sound like a salesman. You know, I'm pretty much saying like, I don't want his attention to get off. Like, just listen. I know it's gonna sound stupid. I know it's gonna sound crazy.
Bear with me.
Yeah, bear with me. He hears it out. He says, "Wow, okay, yeah, that actually does sound really good. Let's see what happens." Okay. So I keep the vest on, which at the time it was just, I believe, a 12-pound vest. So just a simple 12-pound vest. The wristbands actually, the wrist weights actually weren't practical. Okay, they actually weren't practical. I only lasted a couple days with those.
What was impractical about
it? It was too heavy.
They were heavy. Okay.
Yeah, it was 2 pounds. So I cut my own hair. So like if I was gonna do this, or if I was doing this, or like trying to drive, it was just too bulky.
Too close to the end of your limb.
Yes. Yeah. So too bulky. It just wasn't practical. Yeah. Got in the way, and it was a little too heavy.
Okay.
I was like, okay, well, let's just do the vest. Okay. So for the first 4 weeks that I was on the diet, I was at about 2,300 calories at 165 pounds. I started losing some weight, okay?
Which would normally have happened.
Yeah, which would normally have happened anyways.
Yeah.
Then I started wearing a 12-pound vest, and then I kept the calories the same. So now we're looking at an 8-week process. So now I'm continuing to lose weight, okay? After those 4 weeks, I bumped my 12-pound vest up to a 20-pound vest. So now we're looking at a 12-week period. 12-week, I'm still losing weight off of 2,300 calories, okay?
Same calories that you were at the beginning.
Yes, same steps, 9.5K steps a day.
Okay.
9.5K steps.
So you didn't change anything but the weight on the vest.
And my walking speed is just, we would just walk around the property, or if I'm training people, those also account for steps. If I ever need to get on the treadmill, I walk at a flat level at a speed of 2.5. So a lot of people, 2.5 is just boring. That's just a brisk walk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Add another 4 weeks. Okay. Now we're talking about 16 weeks, and now I have a 20-pound vest and some ankle weights. Now the reason for the ankle weights is because I also started thinking too, I'm like, all right, I tried to do some research on it, couldn't find a lot on actual weighted vest and fat loss, but what I did see is that it would improve walking. So I was like, well, all right, that's plus, I guess, whatever.
Putting the leg weights on.
Yes, ankle
Okay.
weights. But not only was I trying to add weight, but I was also trying to distribute weight on my body, okay? Because when a normal person gains body fat, there's going to be distributed, differently on the body.
Sure.
But not only that, but I also was thinking about my my adductor muscles, and that's going to be part of the pose whenever you're actually posing. I am doing this for my bodybuilding purposes. I thought maybe they might flare out a little bit more.
Who knows?
Who knows, So as I'm losing weight, I'm increasing to try to match my weight of 165. But then along the way, it's working. Okay, first off, it's working. So that's the amazing thing. That's the thing that me and James were like, wow, this is really cool. But then I try to test the limits. This is what I mean by testing the limits is my body. Okay, if you can tell me that me, Eric Lee, right now weighing 145 pounds, back in the day, I mean like 7 to 10 years ago, I was old school. We used to think that bulking was how you would get big and strong. Okay, bulking. So I would get up to about 205 pounds. Okay, and that was also my strongest squatting was whenever I was 205 pounds. So you have to ask yourself, if I had 205 pounds and I dieted down to 145 pounds, that's 60 pounds.
60 pounds.
That's 60 pound difference. So you got to ask yourself, if you had an additional 60 pounds that you weighed 24/7, your quadriceps, glutes, calves, they're going to feel the weight. They're going to feel the majority of the weight of that 60 pounds walking around with it. Sure. It's when you stand up, when you sit down on a toilet, when you're squatting, just your total steps in general is going to be feeling these. If for some reason within a 3 to 4 month period, you subtracted 60 pounds off of weight, off of your back, you can imagine that as well and as good as you try to structure your leg workout, your quadricep glute workout, that you are going to have a little bit of atrophy. The best program ever is probably going to just help muscle preservation at its best. Okay, so in other words, you're already going to lose X amount of you're going to have some type of atrophy on your muscles, on your quadricep muscles and glutes from the lack of 60 pounds. But having having a very good structured program would probably minimize that. Okay, so in my mind, I started thinking, okay, what if my body realizes that it's still holding on to the exact same amount of weight? Okay, my starting weight of 165. So you don't get confused. I stopped getting up to 205 pounds already like 7 years ago. That's like the last time I ever even went over 175. Okay, because as we progress, we learn that there's no real benefit of that, and to gaining all that weight. And when you have more weight to lose at a smaller period of time, you're going to lose. It's just going to wreak havoc physiologically. You're going to lose muscle tissue per losing more weight per week.
Right. So don't suggest you go up to 205.
I'm not trying to give you a whole lesson on that. I stopped gaining all that weight. So my starting weight was 165, and I said, okay, I want my body to never know. I never want my quadriceps to ever have the muscle signaling of knowing that it's now 145. So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to try to keep strength. I'm going to try to hold on to my quads. If you can tell me that at a 60 pound difference that there's going to be some muscle atrophy, then you can give me more of a micro and still say the exact same thing. Like, okay, well, if 60 will do that, 20 would do that a little bit. And let's just say it's not so significant, but significant enough where I have quadriceps. I usually compete in Vegas NPC. Even as a natural bodybuilder, I like to compete where a more competitive stage. I compete in the USA's bantamweight, and I have good enough quads. Okay, I have good enough quads. I don't have overpowering quads. I wish I had bigger quads, but I have good enough. Okay, when you're a natural bodybuilder and you have good enough quads, and you know that you're about to lose 20 pounds of body fat going into a show, man, you want to try to hold on to anything. Any little edge can help. Okay, so not only was I gonna hold on to a 20-pound difference of me remaining at 165, but I said, hey, what if I progressively actually started gaining weight artificially by putting on more and more weight, which is what I did.
So go above your 265.
Go above my initial 165.
165.
I made it all the way up to 185. So now we're looking at a 40-pound difference. So I'm 20 pounds over my original over my original starting weight, and I'm 40 pounds right now over my actual body weight. Throughout the whole time, this was the first time ever that I've been able to stay strong on my squats. I've actually progressed the whole time, and I barely capped out like the past maybe 4 weeks. And when I say capped out, I haven't really gotten any weaker. I've just been staying about the same, which is still amazing for me. Not only that, but I just competed, and we'll go into the competing in a second. As far as the body fat's concerned, body fat's just melting off, okay? Because throughout this entire 20-week diet now, which now has been about 21, 22, almost 22, but during the 20-week diet, I lost 20 pounds of my own pure body fat, or weight in general, 20 pounds, but I've gained 20 pounds of artificial weight because I kept adding layers and layers of a weighted vest on me, as well as the belt. Okay, because like I said, I want everything to be evenly distinguished. The most these traps can, as amazing and big as these traps are, the most they can really handle without getting too fatigued is about 25 pounds. So we normally carry a lot on our belly, so I put a 10-pound belt on my belly. Got the 2 pounds on my ankles. Okay.
Would you show them the belt?
Yeah. The belt looks ridiculous. It doesn't look that good.
But it is.
They do have a more expensive one that's a little bit more sleek, but I couldn't get myself to purchase something so expensive. Anyways, and I'm not afraid to look silly because I'm the owner of a gym and this is my job.
Well, okay? that was the beauty of this too. Is that let's talk about a little bit about. I don't want to break your cycle what you're going here now, but let's talk about how you're able to do it all this time without it becoming kind of part of.
So one thing that I could not stress enough is that this is not practical.
All right.
This is not practical. Okay, so I already know that, and it's funny because by nature, even if something is not practical, everyone's gonna buy it. Everyone's gonna do it. There's you gotta think about that Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance, okay?
Right.
So yes, I'm not, I don't want to say my worst critic, but I am harsh on myself to say, so in other words, you look at Brett Contreras, how he very successfully brought a lot of research into hip driving and glute development activation, and which is great.
Right.
Now, of course, is it the complete game changer? Absolutely not. But a lot of people treat it as is. Bands are really in right now. So everyone thinks bands are just this amazing. These are all just tools and clarifications of proper ways to do things. So when somebody does something, you see everyone else do it. Well, now I'm that guy, okay, and I'm my own hater, okay. I'm the guy that's like, well, I already know what a lot of trainers and what a lot of other people are going to say. They're like, wow, they are going to say it is fascinating. Yeah. There is truth to it. Yes, there is some facts to this. But now everyone's doing it. Here comes the eye roll. Okay, so I'm expecting a lot of people to roll their eyes right now. Yeah. But I'm also expecting a lot of people to be like, no, this guy got some good results with this.
Right.
So a lot of people are trying it. So what I'm trying to do is just kind of try to help them a little bit more to understand the practicality of this. So there's two components to this. There's the fat burning, and then there's the muscle. Okay, so by me going up to 185 pounds, which my body has not felt me weighing 185
years.
pounds in like at least 7.5, 8 years.
When you were coming down from 205.
Yes, that was me coming down or going up into 205.
Right.
Okay, has not felt that since. Not only were my muscles able to be held on, I would even dare to say, though more data would be needed with this, as far as like maybe ultrasound on my thigh muscles, but I would even dare to say hypertrophy. Okay, think about the way that we talk about progressive overload. How we have the old school, how we have the young kid with the calf, and then he gets bigger, and then it's bigger calf, and as the cow gets bigger, he gets bigger because he's holding on to it, and his thighs are getting bigger and everything. Okay, so kind of think along the lines of that. Like I said, there's two parts. One part that I feel is easy, and it's easy to program into anything, and then one that I feel like is very difficult. The fat burning part, I believe, is easy. We can make programs for you that says, okay, let's try, let's just use Rob, for example. Rob, we're gonna give Rob a 20-pound vest instead of going on an incline treadmill for 20 minutes out of your day, okay? So let's just say I give you a program where I say, hey, Rob, I want you to do 10,000 steps a day, okay? And it is not practical for you at your job, okay?
Right,
to walk around with a vest, and everyone will be like, what are you walking around with that vest for? It looks silly, okay? But I say whenever you get to the gym, I want you to at least knock out 40% of your total steps with the vest, starting with 3 days out of the week, okay? And then maybe after 3 weeks, we bump it up to 4 days out of the week, and then 5 days out of the week. And then out of that, maybe test the limits and say 50% of your total daily steps 5 days out of the week. And by this time, now these are things that will fast forward and speed up your fat loss. That's an easy way to program it. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there right now. That's an easy way to program it for fat loss.
Just like a progressive overload for that weight.
Yes, exactly. Now, as far as the muscle preservation whilst dieting for a bodybuilding show, let's just say, or even the harder part of even maybe some hypertrophy, I believe that's a lot harder. I believe that would take at least, your body would literally have to recognize that is its weight that it is handling every single day, okay? In order for certain
mechanisms.
Muscle signaling mechanisms to go off,
right,
and send signals saying, hey, we are walking around with a 190-pound person, okay?
Right.
I believe this is not 100%. This is just what I believe.
What you gather, right?
You would at least need, what I do is 95% of your entire day to be hauling this load of this artificial weight that you're going to be providing for it. Especially if you're going to go even higher in weight. So how much do you weigh right now?
I weigh 167.
Okay, so let's just say he started with 170. You have the option of being at 170 to try to maybe hold on to muscle tissue. As you continue to lose 5 pounds, you add 5 pounds of weight on you. As you lose 10 pounds, you add 10 pounds.
Just to get back to the 170. Yes. Right.
Or you can even tempt muscle hypertrophy. So within a 10-week period, you have slowly, progressively put on another 20 pounds over the 170, and now you're 190.
Right.
Okay. So even though you actually get on the scale and you're 150.
150.
According to the scale, you weigh 190.
That's right.
And
according to your body, body's recognizing
yes.
190.
Yes. Okay. That is more not practical. Okay. But if you are a personal trainer, or if you have
you're
a job,
in the gym all the time,
or you just have a job where you're either the owner, or
you're on your own, you work from home,
or just something, then man,
why not?
I say do it. I say try it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about. So let's try that for some muscle hypertrophy. I promise. I would promise that it would work.
The chances are
maybe it won't, but on paper it should work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I do get some. I hear some complaints sometimes, like my traps are burning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
People are purchasing 20 to 30 pound to 50 pound weight vests
to begin with.
Right. And they're only doing like 20 minutes to 40 minutes a day. That's not enough. That's not enough for your traps to even finally recognize. Also, you should ease into it. Okay, it's just like braces. For anybody out there who's ever had braces, once you put braces on, I mean, it hurts. But every time you and it calms down, you know, your mouth relaxes to it. But every time you go back to the orthodontist, you get adjusted.
Right.
When you get adjusted, you have that 3-day phase when it hurts like hell again.
Yeah.
And then it's back to normal.
Right.
Okay. It's the same way I feel with diet adjustments too. Your coach or whoever, you know, subtracts 20 carbs or subtracts 150 calories from your diet. You're gonna have those 3 days of disruption where your body's just like shit.
Adjustment.
Okay?
Yeah. I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned 90 to 95% of your day is with the weight vest on. Are we talking about 90 to 95% of your steps, or like if you're sitting, or if you're laying down? What are we talking about? The percentage, is it out of your steps?
It's gonna be both steps,
and just idle time.
Yes.
Okay.
I would say a combination. Okay, so in other words, if I had you at 10,000 steps a day, and then I honestly feel that it has to be throughout the entire day, as a mixture with the steps. Okay. So in other words, if I gave you 10,000 steps to do every day, and you got done with your 10,000 steps every day at
by noon,
4 p.m.
Right.
You go to bed at 10 p.m. So you have 6 hours, and throughout that time, you get to like 9.5K. So you're like, well, I'm pretty relaxed. I'm just standing now throughout the rest of the 6 hours. Then I'm just gonna kind of just do whatever. I honestly feel, which would benefit more, is to slow it down then, and then wait a little bit later, right before you go to bed, that your thighs actually feel this weight, just so you can give it that 100% full trickery.
Right. So the thighs would feel like have more spread out time to feel like I'm at this weight.
Yeah. Think of time under tension a little bit as well.
Okay.
But you can look at them both ways.
Okay.
But I would do a combination.
Okay.
95% of the entire day, and within your steps that you're given from your coach or whatever you give yourself, whatever. So I would say both.
Another question, in terms of like your strength, not only in your legs, but like other times that you prep for a competition, is it different? Is your strength different from other times?
Yeah. I'd be weaker right now.
You'd be weaker.
Generally, I would be weaker.
What do you attribute the food? You attribute that to the food that maybe you have less?
Okay, so me at 145 pounds, at this body fat percentage right now, I would normally be eating, because I'm a small human, okay? So I would normally probably be eating about 1550 calories.
At 145 right now.
At 145 right now.
6 weeks or 8 weeks away from a show.
No, just at this weight. I mean, I just did a show.
Right,
okay?
but you have one coming.
Yeah.
So,
but just normally at this weight in general, yeah, I should be around there.
Calories.
If I did have a show coming up in just 2 more weeks where I have to lose even more body fat, which even right now to my own standard would be me losing, you know, a little bit more body fat, then yeah, I'd probably even on some days get down to like 1,300 calories. Okay. Where at this point, my body believes that I weigh 185 pounds.
Yeah.
So I've only been at 2,300 calories. Okay.
So what does that mean in terms of your strength first of all?
Well, okay. So my muscles, my physical muscles, still had plenty of calories to eat and feast off of and be able to repair muscle tissue. So I believe that's a big contribution to it. Yeah. You know, I asked James, and you can see that in my previous video. I had asked, like, okay, let's just say this is a 700 calorie deficit, okay, from my 185 pound self. Let's just say that's a 700 calorie deficit. If I just decided right now, I don't want to wear none of these vests no more, but I still want to keep a 700 deficit, that might put me right now at about like 1,400 calories.
Yeah.
So because it's 700 and 700, shouldn't I equally feel the same then? And James and Eric Trexler would probably imagine that no, because that's a lack of food.
Right.
Even though the deficit still matches of 700 and 700.
It's a lot less food.
It's a lot less food to eat.
Period.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that attributes to it too, is that I'm eating more food. Okay. So I believe that even as I'm losing body fat, that my muscles are still being fed enough calories to repair muscle tissue.
Right. And you said just recently, like the last couple of weeks, you capped out. But that's been, I mean, you've been dieting. You've been doing this for
21 weeks now.
21 weeks. So, I mean, that says a lot about you being able to keep your strength, if not progress.
Okay. I want to bring this up real quick before we have to cut and maybe make another video of part 2 of this tomorrow, because I gotta get ready to go train clients. But this is such the biggest deal in my mind of why this whole thing worked as far as body fat percentage. Out of 20 weeks, and I have no reason to lie. This is not me to boast or anything. No. But in 20 weeks, I have never went over 2,300 calories. I have never went over 2,300 calories. And I think it was easier also for me mentally knowing that I am doing so well that I can. Right. Because I can, and that nothing's gonna happen. I have never had a high carb day. I've never had a high calorie day out of my 23 already. Sure. Out of my 2,300 calories. So I get it was kind of like, hey, I'm doing so good on week 3. I can, but I'm not. Right. On week 7, and that's how it kind of ended up being. On week 7, I can mess up a little bit today. I'll be just fine. I can go up to 2,800 calories and still be perfectly on track. I didn't. Right. On week number 11, one night, I could have ate more. I was a little hungry that day, but I didn't. I think it's sometimes because you're so comfortable and you have that option.
Knowing that you have that, it's okay that I don't. When you don't, when you know that you don't have it, it's like, man, I really, really want it.
Yeah. So I knew at any point that I can go over. I can even have a binge out, because the macro of the whole thing is that I've been on my point. If I would have messed up one time, that would have put me at a 99 percentile, and I would have still been just fine. Right. But I was fine. 2,300 calories for a 155 pounder at that time when I could have messed up. I was like, no, I'm still eating plenty. And sometimes I would go to like 2,000 calories just so I can have like 3 IPAs. Right. Or, 5 shots of liquor or something like that. Right. And that was just a couple, like maybe like 1 or 2 days out of the week.
But you still didn't go over.
Yeah, still didn't go over. Right. Okay.
Well, I think that the 2,300 at your size gives you a lot of food. Mm-hmm. Like if you're at 1,600 calories, then you might be more likely to go over because you're hungry.
And trust me, this is already my 12th bodybuilding show. I've binged out. Right. Okay. I've scrambled to try to try to repair the 2-day binge, the 1-day binge. I can't take it no more. I'm gonna just add a meal, not a complete binge, but I've done it all. Okay. This one was the first time that I didn't. Not only that, but the day of the show. So for people who don't know, I did a bodybuilding show just so I can make the qualification to go back to Vegas, because I haven't competed in about 2.5, almost 3 years. So I got to requalify. I did a whatever show. Again, not to be cocky, but I was pretty confident that I was going to win it. Not only just win it, maybe even be the only one. Maybe 1 or 2 other bantamweights in there. And if there was going to be 1 or 2 other ones, I was going to give them business. Yeah, I was going to go in there and take care of business.
It will be dealt with.
But I didn't do a peak week, because especially at this is me simply dieting, because I was about at my standard of body fat percentage, I was maybe about 95% of where I would like to be. Okay. But I thought my 94, 95 is good enough for a local show, which it was, and I won. My quads, I still was so amazed. I have never seen my quads look like that. I have never seen my quads look lean, ripped, pumped, just all of it. I was even whenever I would flex, I would try to post a video on my actual YouTube of the show, but I never seen my legs like that in my life. So I attribute that to wearing the vest and having a lack of